It's all about business value, right? You decide what are the things that are extremely important for you to scale and execute in a much faster manner, and just focus on those integration touch points.
Welcome everyone to UpTech Report. UpTech Report is sponsored by TerraLeap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today I'm very excited to be joined by my guest, Dinesh, who's based in New York City, VP Accounts at LogiNexts. Welcome. Good to have you on, man.
Hey, good to be here, Alexander. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Now, LogiNexts is an AI ML-based transportation automation platform. So you're really trying to help those that are in the logistics fields, enterprise companies, to provide better route optimizations with your backbone. Help me understand, how did LogiNexts kind of get started, and how has it evolved over time? What problem are you guys solving?
Sure. So we started off back in 2014 when our founders left their jobs at Deloitte and IBM to start off LogiNext. The whole value proposition was primarily around how do we use some of the concepts which were up and coming at that time, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, and package that all into a commercial value proposition in the logistics and transportation sector, where they had tons of experience. So that's what the genesis of LogiNext was how do we take those kind of concepts, apply it in the real world sense, to enable companies to improve their customer experience, improve the way they run their operations, with the end goal, of course, being how do you help them save money, because they're doing the same kind of movements millions and millions and billions of times over all across the globe.
Now, the companies that you're working with, like Pizza Hut, McDonald's, Singapore Post, help me understand, like, how are you helping them? Give me a good use case then of it in play.
Sure. So let's take like a Singapore Post or UPS or FedEx, any of these courier express parcel companies that we talk about. They're primarily responsible for delivering hundreds and thousands of packages, let's say in Manhattan, in New York City. There could be deliveries that need to happen all across, from Midtown, Uptown, Downtown, anywhere. And every day would look different. There are some days in which there's a huge demand in downtown. There's some days in which there's a huge demand in Midtown, and so on and so forth. What our algorithm helps us to do is to efficiently and automatically figure out how to define the routes on any given day based on the demand of that day. So it helps to match the supply, which is your drivers, your vehicles, hours of service, and so on and so forth, and match it to satisfy all of your demand while trying to reduce your costs. So the same number of deliveries, instead of running 100 trucks every day, which also goes into the whole greenhouse emissions and the whole increased carbon footprint. How do you do that with lesser number of trucks while ensuring that the customers get better experience? So these companies have historically not focused much on customer experience, where that is now changing, where now they want to give better predictability, saying that your package is not going to be here on this day and just wait for it the whole day. Rather, it'll be in the morning between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. or in the evening from 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. and so on.
Consumer expectation has increased dramatically. And yeah, if I can say it, Amazon has probably pushed it in a lot of people's minds, but it's only growing across the board in multiple consumer providers, where people are assuming, hey, the business that I get my stuff from, that I order my stuff from, should be here, quick, fast. How is that changing the game, and how do business leaders have to adjust then their thinking of deliveries and logistics?
Sure. So it's happening in two ways, right? One is, of course, the Amazons are trying to get into the whole delivery space and trying to capture more of the market share, where they are coming up with high technology in order to do this in a more efficient way with better experience. That's where some of the legacy industry players, these giants, are sitting up and taking notice and investing heavily in technology. On the other side, the whole Uberification of the world, if you may, where everyone wants to see the drivers in real time on a map view. They want to know exactly where their food delivery is, where the driver is, and so on and so forth. That's also playing a hugely important role in actually moving the needle and pushing the agenda in terms of investing in technologies like LogiNext, which can help them deliver those capabilities without having to invest a huge amount in putting together a technology ecosystem and a platform, right? That's where we are seeing the most amount of success, where we can easily plug and play into their existing technology ecosystem and start delivering those kind of value-added capabilities much, much more quickly than they would be able to do by themselves or by working with some of the legacy technology partners.
Yeah, it's always a balance between what do you develop in-house versus what do you bring in, and I mean, what's the trade-off in that, and what would you are obviously you're biased because you know the value
Sure.
they can bring, but as best you can, like, talk about the pros and cons, and because it applies both the logistics but any other type of software, honestly, when you're bringing it inside to your company instead of trying to build it in-house. What are the pros and cons here we're looking at?
Sure. And that's something that I've seen not just in the logistics sector, but even from my prior experience with Deloitte Consulting, having seen this in telecom and healthcare everywhere, right? That's the classical dilemma that any CIO usually has, whether to build up a whole team in-house, build all of these capabilities themselves, or partner with vendors and third-party solutions and SaaS platforms like LogiNext, right? From my experience, what I've seen is there are two challenges which these companies usually face, right? One is time to market and speed. That is something that becomes extremely important for them, where the industry is changing at such a rapid pace that if they don't continue innovating, then there is a huge chance that they will lose out on the market share and revenues and potentially lead to a downward spiral, right? The second is around talent itself. The kind of talent that we are able to attract as a high growth SaaS startup, and the kind of cool things that we're able to do with machine learning, AI, with connected devices, all of that, it usually becomes a challenge for some of these traditional players to attract that kind of talent to build those capabilities in-house. So that's where I think a lot of companies are striking that balance from what we are seeing in the industry, is some of those aspects are keeping it in-house, the classical IT kind of capabilities, if you may. And the cutting edge technologies, they're looking towards partners like LogiNext in order to supplement that. And that's where the whole API ecosystem and the platform ecosystem that we've built is really helping us scale in a much faster manner. Because the last thing any CIO or any technology executive wants to hear is, we are here to replace your IT organization or replace your IT systems. That's a losing value proposition immediately, right? So plugging into existing systems, letting them continue to work the way they do, and providing additional value, that usually is the best way for not just us, any SaaS company to scale and grow.
The age of API is here. An explosion of SaaS and software solutions is right. Crazy and wonderful at the same time. So every organization, both enterprise and lower down, they have to be embracing this. But it's the question of, okay, how easy is it to integrate and start using and implement? Right. What would you say is just a word of advice to CTOs and CIOs who are having to look at solutions like this and think, okay, how long will this take in the integration, and what does that process look like?
Sure. So my advice to them would be that they need to focus on just keeping the things which are important as part of the integration, because there is like tons of APIs that any provider would provide. It's all about business value, right? You decide what are the things that are extremely important for you to scale and execute in a much faster manner, and just focus on those integration touch points. Now, on the flip side, from our perspective, building everything in a platform first or an API first kind of an approach, where connectivity with existing ecosystems is the number one priority. So that way we can build the UX and all of the usability and user experience aspects on top of it. But being API first and API driven really helps to get things kicked off in a much faster manner, right? From the whole architecture itself, creating these in a seamless manner using the latest technologies really helps to understand what the ecosystem needs to look like across both of their IT enterprise ecosystems and ours, and then allows the data to flow seamlessly with each of the systems being responsible for those specific aspects only, right? That's what we have seen really help us, especially in this space, because logistics companies in general have sometimes have really antiquated and archaic systems which we have to work with and also deliver value.
Mhm. Um, let's take a step back for a moment of looking at the space that we're in the future of logistics. Because of the pandemic, lots of people working from home, and this concept of convenience of let me just deliver things to my house instead of going out to the store, going out to there, or even to my office or whatever. What can you speak to as far as the trends that you're seeing and how that's going to come into play for logistics?
Sure. One of the biggest trends Joel and I were joking about is that we are seeing almost like a 200-250% growth in the whole home bulky, big and bulky goods segment, right? Where people are just ordering furniture, they're working from home, looking at, maybe I need a side table or a center table here. And that has seen a huge boom, right? Another example is my own mom. So she's back in India, and she's like during the pandemic the first time consumer of online delivery service, where I get a text one day saying that, hey, I ordered my first delivery from Amazon in India, and she was really excited, right? So that's the number one thing that's, I think, going to happen, right? There are a lot of these first time consumers who are not really used to online ordering. They are here to stay. They're not really going anywhere when they start realizing the convenience of such kind of models. Now, it's going to really keep this volume going as we move forward, right? The other aspect of the pandemic, and which has really helped in the whole logistics case and in our case as well, is the huge demand uptick, which a lot of the providers were not able to satisfy using their existing fleet and existing drivers and pool, right? Pool of vehicles. That directly has actually helped us have the value proposition, and the need was always there, right? The need of a system like LogiNext was always there. The urgency that we're seeing coming from our customers now to implement such solutions, that is something that we are definitely excited about, because there is a lot of opportunity where our customers, are trying to address their needs and volumes as quickly as possible.
What do you see as now this trade-off between convenience versus sustainability, and how does that affect and the bigger picture of where we're headed?
Right. With great convenience comes great responsibility, I would say. Right. No, and that is something that I'm seeing a lot of customers start to focus on. Right. Cost reduction is definitely one of the big agenda topics for them, but also the direct effect of using a route planning algorithm, a machine learning driven algorithm, is the reduced mileage, where the same number of trucks need to drive lesser miles in order to satisfy the demand that they have. And that is really helping to reduce the whole carbon footprint, right? With the whole advent of online ordering and the uptick that we're seeing right now, the density of these deliveries are also increasing. So in the same area, there are more people now starting to order, and the more efficiently that our algorithm is able to pool all of these things and group all of these things together and create routes where there is not like 5 trucks which have to go in the same neighborhood. It automatically helps to reduce costs and also create a greener planet, especially something that I care about, having a 2.5-year-old daughter at home, right? So that's something that I feel good about as I see more of such implementations going live.
Looking at your platform itself, like, can you just share any like data on how many different transactions are going through there and you're having to manage, just to give the sheer volume?
Sure.
Of the tech?
So very recently, like our technology team was sharing some of these metrics of what we've achieved so far already. So we have processed more than 1 billion shipments on our platform, with more than 5 billion data points being collected across the globe. So we are live now in 52 countries, and we're rapidly adding more as we speak. And the scale and the volumes that we're handling has been definitely tremendous, right? This is something that we see continuing as we move forward. And as we break into new regions and new territories, we're just looking forward to seeing more of such metrics being hit.
What can you share? What are you most excited about as far as the roadmap? What's coming up, new features, or just where you guys are headed that you want to share?
Sure. So from our perspective, right, just to take a step back, there are multiple industries that the platform serves, right? So there is the Courier Express parcel, like we spoke about. There is on-demand delivery for the quick service restaurants like the Pizza Huts, McDonald's of the world, where there is dynamic pickup and delivery that's happening. There is also big and bulky movements that we do, like the dishwasher installation and furniture deliveries and so on and so forth. And then there is also the classical, the CPG, the retail, those kind of use cases on how do you replenish all of your stores from your central distribution warehouse and do it in the most efficient manner, right? From our roadmap perspective, the good part about our team is they keep adding more and more functionality every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, and it's definitely exciting for us to see. Some of the cool things that's coming up is primarily around how do you automate a lot of the Courier Express parcel movements end to end, right from the time it's picked up in a warehouse in California and delivered all the way through multiple hubs and multiple locations to my wife who's sitting in New York. How do you optimize all of that? How do you give that kind of visibility end to end to create that differentiated customer experience, right? The other ones are, of course, in the big and bulky segment. How do you make all of these things much more efficient where your customers do not need to give a full day window? Very recently, I got a delivery from Best Buy where they gave me a full day window saying that, hey, the guys will be there sometime during the whole day. So you need to just stop doing whatever you're doing and just wait for them. So those kind of things are really, really interesting that's coming up. And soon we'll have some public distribution of some of those materials.
It's an exciting time where technology can be playing such a crucial role in every one of our lives. For you, what do you see as any tech innovations do you see coming together, both maybe at your company, but even a little bit bigger, just that's coming down the road that's going to change the way we're all working and living and playing?
Sure. I think two of them, which I've personally quite looking forward to and keeping an eye out on. One of them is, of course, the whole self-driving, right? I think the first commercial implementation of autonomous cars is actually going to be in the logistics industry. That's primarily because when you have such long haul movements and trucks going on relatively straightforward paths, I think that's one of the easiest use cases to solve versus what Elon Musk might be promising in terms of full self-driving capabilities in a narrow city or in Manhattan even, right? So I think that's going to be extremely interesting because then a lot of these things which have been limiting factors in certain ways around the number of hours someone can drive and their own physical capabilities around being able to do it in a certain time, and even driver shortage in general is a huge problem in the logistics industry, right? There's not enough pool of drivers and they're all competing for the same kind of pool of resources. That's going to open up a lot of different avenues for these companies. And that's where we are looking forward to much more use cases around the routing capabilities of how do you really take all of these kind of self-driving vehicles and route it in the most efficient manner so that you can get all of these things done as quickly as possible. The other one is going to be the whole drone delivery business, right? There are a lot of these remote areas and even densely populated areas where getting a drone delivering some of these goods is going to be much faster and easier, and also in the long term, much cheaper, right? Instead of having vehicles and people and all of that good stuff. So that's also going to be interesting and something we are keeping our eyes open for.
I will be very interesting when we all start getting drone deliveries as a regular occurrence. I feel like there was some movie I watched recently where futuristic, so, but not too futuristic, where it was a pizza delivered via drone. And
Right.
that'll be the next thing: Pizza Hut delivering your pizza by drone.
Yep.
Just last fun question for you, Dinesh. Any
Sure.
good books or podcasts or audiobooks that you've been reading or listening to lately that you would recommend?
Sure. So some of my personal favorite podcasts are the Tim Ferriss Show. So just to hear about all of these different people from different walks of life, just to hear their stories is definitely interesting. Planet Money, of course, is also another one, which is definitely interesting to hear. From books, actually, recently, our CEO Dhruval, he gifted me this one called The Hard Thing About Hard Things. So that's something that I hadn't read previously. So I'm reading that right now. And another one on a personal front I'm reading is The Full Brain Child, which is more around how do you make your kid grow up with a well-rounded kind of development from the whole mental capabilities and all of that. So that's more of a personal front for my 2.5-year-old.
I have a 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, so that's just as crucial as growing a business, if anything more. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your insights, and it's intriguing to hear the future of logistics and the optimization of it. For those that want to learn more, you can go to LogiNextsSolutions.com, right? LogiNextsSolutions.com, if I said it right. And you'll be able to sign up free as a good demo or get a trial. How does that work?
There's a free trial online that folks can sign up for and give the platform a spin.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again for your time, everyone. Head to UpTechReport.com to see this full interview and a lot more. And we'll see you all guys next time. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to UpTechReport.com and let us know.